An intruder sneaks into a house at the beginning of the film. The locals are caught off guard while engaging in some unclean sex. When the unidentified guy strikes the spouse with a rope that is securely tied, he aggressively ambushes him while the wife, Allison, as we later learn her name, attempts to flee and make a call for assistance. Sadly, the guy follows her and chokes her to the point of unconsciousness. That loud sex thing was a bust. When Allison awakens, she finds herself hung in her kitchen, tied by many cords. While the intruder pulls her injured husband Tom into their bathroom, she desperately tries to free herself from her situation. The guy criticizes him for pleading for his life as he binds him up with the last of the rope inside. He quotes Hipólito Marzillo, the first person to utilize sleep restriction as a kind of interrogation, completely unconcerned. He goes on to express his respect for the inventor of the Chinese technique of torture. He then pulls out a wrench while Tom is still gagged and starts to cut off one of his fingers, causing him to scream in pain. He did remember to sanitize the wrench before tormenting him, for what it's worth. To prevent him from dozing off, he gives him one more slap across the face before turning on the faucet. He enters, locks him, and goes to their bedroom. He poked inside the drawer and found a flogger and other sex toys there. He may be seen closely licking one of Allison's sex objects in a distressing moment. Later, he nonchalantly makes his way to the kitchen and inquires whether Allison would like a cup of tea. She could only stammer and gurgle while being choked by the rope. She then looks over at her husband's severed finger that is sitting on the kitchen counter and weeps. After brewing a cup of tea, she is surprised when he shouts her name. This guy, who actually simply believes he's an academic, begins touching her inappropriately while talking garbage about the chance to get into a fight. He claims that her obedience is her last hope of surviving. He takes the handkerchief out of her mouth and orders her to become his devoted wife in its place. She can't help but consent. Allison observes her soiled sheets and walks to the closet to get a new set while Tom and Allison are still in their bedroom, which is now inhabited by the intruder. The unidentified guy calls her wicked after seeing her wearing a latex suit and continuing to pursue her. He pushes her to take a bath and undress after dragging her into the bathroom. The guy joins Allison as Tom shouts in denial, and they both take a bath. We observe the guy and Allison in bed together after the disturbing demonstration of abuse. While the other guy snoozes like a baby, the woman, whose wrists are bound, trembles in terror. The next morning, the guy is seen spitting on Tom while brushing his teeth and in an awesome attitude. He binds Allison's leg and his wrist together once she wakes up, saying that they are in fact both of us. He now touches and feels her once more while she shrieks in agony and disdain. He advises her to treat him with the same level of love and devotion as she does Tom during the weekend. She motions for assistance in getting a robe before heading out to obtain one for herself. The guy suddenly runs to her after realizing that he can't see what she's doing. He tells her to knot his tie around his neck while holding it in her hand. The picture of disorder and command continues in what comes next. She is compelled to cinch the knot all the way up, and the unknown guy enjoys the deed clearly. Allie, as he nicknames her, which leads her to claim that only her spouse refers to her in such way. The guy then goes on another violent rampage as a result. He locks him inside the restroom as he dashes there and cuts off another finger from Tom. Allison sobs in anguish as he points the finger at her. While coercing her to submit to his perverted love, he compels her to prepare breakfast for him. When he inquires about Allison's typical days with her spouse, she responds in a general, not specific manner. He asks her cryptically whether she trusts him as much as he does her spouse. She responds in the affirmative. "I trust you." He then goes on to dance his way to the restroom while murmuring a tune that Tom, Allison, and he know. Tom attempts to scream at his fury, but it doesn't work. In return for shutting off the bathtub faucet for Allison, the guy has her urinate in front of him. Naturally, Tom yells in protest and begs his wife not to do it. The guy becomes enraged by this and instead pees on Tom as a result. The probing and private inquiries of the guy are how we ultimately learn about the pair. Tom is the household's primary provider of income, it turns out. He is a writer, and when his career took off, he hired an assistant. Additionally, it is clear that she is dissatisfied with their marital situation. The guy starts to make light of his profession and inquires about the funeral, earningly belled as Emily Allison anxiously begs him not to inquire about her. The action immediately changes to her being threatened by the nasty guy to don the latex costume in the bedroom. Tom has recorded his wife wearing a number of role-playing costumes while he is busy inspecting his camera. He questions Allison about why she got the outfit if she doesn't want to wear it, to which she responds because her husband wanted to see her in it. The guy then exhorts her to wear it even more. He tells her to strike a stance for him as she's donning the latex. As she prepares to zip herself in, she grudgingly agrees to his request in order to protect herself. She ignores his frantic commands to turn around. He gives the same instruction again, but Allison is sure that she will follow her choice. She finally makes a slow, surprising turn and runs into the bathroom, locking the door. Her husband yells at her to fetch the phone and call the police while she tries to untie him. The cyclist approaches the restroom quietly and knocks softly amid the commotion. Tom becomes frightened as Allison tries to unlock the phone. Finally, a cyclist opens the lock, but Allison takes a knife to frighten him. Tom tries to provoke her into assaulting him many times, but she doesn't move. Instead, the guy takes her, breaks her finger, and ties her to the bed as punishment. Tom is in for much worse. He pulls out his teeth and gives Allison his tooth. She feels pressured by him to consume her husband's tooth. There is yet more torment to come. She is lying close to the guy who has blood on his hands. They can unknowingly feel desire as they mutter about how the human body reacts to sex. He starts unzipping her suit and stroking her as he continues to lecture about science. He asserts that it's possible for victims to take pleasure in this while abusing her. He reduced the number of abusers, but continued to abuse her anyway. If she tries to leave again, he says he'll rape her. Psycho examines several clips from their webcam while Allison sobs in the bedroom. He learns that Tom is violent with his wife. He also discovers that he is having an affair with his aide. He confronts Tom and presses her on her feelings for Allison. Funny how a stranger who has harmed her and her spouse has the audacity to claim he would love her unlike anyone else. Following his brief speech, he smashes a picture frame and stabs Tom in the stomach with the glass fragments. To Allison's amazement, he approaches her again and requests that she don a different clothing. The two return to bed after he allows her to wear anything she feels comfortable in. Allison awakens in the morning to an empty bed and no sign of the lunatic. She runs to her spouse with insight. Tom seemed to be in a mental panic and only cares about her having sex with the guy. Tom is adamant about not allowing his wife to approach the guy, despite her assurances that she can rescue them by making him believe she likes him. She soothes him before scurrying back to the bedroom while feigning sleep. She is surprised when the guy wakes her up in bed with an expensive meal. He is busy erasing her suggestive photos from the camera while she eats her breakfast and questions the change in attitude. He offers to brew her a cup of coffee later. She takes a knife and settles down at the table. He asks about Emily again before he notices anything, and this time she reveals her hidden Emily, her little daughter, had tragically passed away after being involved in a motorbike accident. She further criticizes Tom for avoiding her when her little daughter died because he was out on business. By saying that God ought to have chosen Tom instead, she drives the last nail into the coffin. She stands up hastily, obviously forgetting about the knife. The guy observes it but says nothing about it. In the family room, when the guy leaves the room to collect a bottle of essential oil from the bathroom cabinet, the two act like a happy married couple and spend some time together. Quickly, Allison fetches a vial of poison from the kitchen. Running back, she tucks it beneath the couch's cushion. She acts as if she likes the man's kind nature as he returns to give her a foot massage. They prepare a romantic supper and cook together in the evening while they change cycles. Lover spews drivel about female anatomy and sexiness. He answers to Allison's question about why he forced her to wear the outfit yesterday by saying that today, he wants to develop into the man he should be instead of the spouse she intended him to be. Allison picks out intimate apparel for herself and says she creates it for high street retail chains. Tom feels bad about her employment. Allison offers to serve the wine as the guy is preparing the steak downstairs in the kitchen. She is successful in slipping the poison into his drink. The dude is intelligent. Later that night, he has a suspicion of mischief and doesn't drink any wine the remainder of the night. While the camera captured them, the two were dancing to gentle music. The guy attempts to persuade her that Tom's violent behavior would eventually cause her death. Allison asks him his name instead of responding, but he refuses to say it. She picks up her wine glass after they kiss, but the next night, after the weekend is over, he purposefully drops his. The guy admits that they had previously met and that he had recognized her yearning for him from the look in his eyes. He claims that all of Allison's inquiries are irrelevant and brushes them off. They eventually fall asleep after he gives her a kiss on the cheek. Allison awakens on Monday to a similarly lavish breakfast, but this time Psycho Man has left their home. She discovers a message from him that reveals his name is Aaron, as per the agreement. She goes to her husband after being relieved and tries to untie him. As soon as he is able to talk, he accuses her of having a sexual relationship with Aaron. A cheap word to call her? Yes, she ought to have kept him restrained. Allison sobs and explains that she had to act like nothing happened so that he wouldn't murder them. Tom cools down for a moment, but he loses it when he reads Aaron's message thanking her for the weekend. He's also urged her to hold him responsible for everything. Tom yells at her and mockingly inquires as to whether or not she has slept with him. He goes a step further and accuses her of causing his inability to please his wife. He goes on to blame Emily's passing and rushes to her nursery to cause trouble. He never stops criticizing his wife for failing to fulfill the 3 characteristics that she promised him: love, honor, and obedience. Allison slaps him instead of retaliating because she is too exhausted to do so, which causes him to act out as well. Tom is unrelenting as they battle violently on the ground. Finally, he pushes himself on her while pretending to be sorry. She needs him and slaps his head on the table as she uses all of her power to fight back. She hits his head repeatedly, hurting him. When she checks Tom's phone, she sees that his helper Sarah is expecting a child with him. She turns Tom's body around in shock and amazement to see that Aaron had written the word cheater on his stomach. Sarah comes at that same moment and senses a problem. She sees blood on the floor and screams at Allison to get her attention. She finds Tom's dead body and rushes to call an ambulance while Allison, who is cold and upset, gets ready to leave. Tom wakes up and goes after Sarah. He suffocates her with a pillow and says that their baby is not his. Allison sees that this could turn out badly, so she kills him with a hammer to save Sarah. Allison decides that Aaron did the killing as Sarah sobs in shock. Aaron is at the end of the movie. When he works at a locksmith's shop and a beautiful woman asks him to make a copy of a key, he stares at her very hard while she gives him the order. And this is how the movie ends. Please don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Thanks, see you for the next one.